was the first thing you did as a retired person.
You are right, just so you know.
Isn't it funny?
He's alive.
He wants you to. I yelled at him.
I don't remember like.
What am I doing?
You're notarized.
Yeah.
I F that.
I don't have my notary.
We are live.
I did not know.
Thank you.
It's okay if I do it after, because I don't have any of my notary.
You want me to just have him kind of find you with them?
Carrie,
I
I
can
brought
take
you
them.
a couple of books I thought you might like to look at.
Okay, thank you very much.
I didn't bring my notary, sorry.
So you're not waiting on, she'll get
We're
it to
live,
you
just so you
tomorrow,
know.
so you're not waiting on me. I did everything to have you ready to go and not have to wait. And then you wanna talk to me afterwards.
I gotta remember start bringing jackets.
No, I'm just teasing you,
I won't keep you.
just teasing you.
30 seconds.
I felt bad for all the times you stuck waiting on me. Anybody else can you?
I don't think so.
Ready? Are we live?
Mhm.
All right, go ahead and call our Tuesday, July 28th council meeting to order. If you would please rise and join us for a prayer and the pledge.
Please bow your heads with me. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and the many blessings you've given us. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to be present this evening to consider things for the city of Aurora. And we're just so thankful for the opportunity to serve this city and to consider things that move it forward. Lord, I just thank you for these council members, for the volunteerism that they continue to provide for this city. And I just ask that you be present this evening in their conversations and their decisions, and just help us to make decisions that please you. Lord, we just thank you for your hedge of protection across this community, and just ask that you continue to keep our citizens safe. Lord, we just ask that you lead us and guide us and forgive us where we fail you. We say all these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Kennedy?
Here.
Chairman Pro Tem Lewis?
Here.
Councilwoman Hopplinger?
Here.
Councilwoman Pettit? Here. Councilman Blades? You have a quorum.
Thank you. We have no one signed up for public comment, so we'll skip on to council forum. Chairman Pro Tem.
I don't have much. I did visit with one citizen who wanted to just express their gratitude for us opening up the new burn site and not completely taking it away. They mentioned they would love even maybe some additional days to drop stuff off, that they don't mind setting out to the curb and letting us do it, but they kind of enjoy as a retiree to do that, and that they would love still to make sure that they have access to the mulch, that was a big thing to them. So I don't know if we're still doing that, how that works currently. If there's if there's any opportunities for more days to maybe, communicate that. I don't know if you've had similar feedback or not. Maybe this is a one-off, so I don't know. Just wanted to share.
I can address that now, or it's in my management report, whichever you prefer.
How about now?
Okay. So the brush pickup, since we did change the location of the site and have that open limited hours, has had brush pickup lasting all but about 2 to 4 days of the month. Our staff are stretched out because of so much more to pick up on the routes. So with that being the case, I had mentioned a meeting or two ago that we were planning to extend the hours that the facility will be open. It won't be manned, but it will be open Monday through Thursday, 7 to 3:30. 7:30 to 3.
7 to 3:30.
There you go. Sorry. Anyway, so he's ordered additional signage, Jason has, so that we can help identify the location better, as well as just some governing rules and specifications for what can be dropped out there. So we are preparing to open that as soon as we get that new signage up. So we're hoping within the next week or two, we're getting that to where it can be used more often. In terms of mulch, we do not at this point in time have any plan or ability set up to continue the mulching process. It's just a drop-off site. So if council would want us to bring that back, we would definitely have to talk about that and how that would work at the new location, because we're not set up for that there.
maybe my ask would just be keep that in your mind and maybe brainstorm if you think of something. We can talk about it later. It doesn't necessarily have to be we got plenty of our things of list to talk about, but just if something
Yeah.
comes up.
Sure.
You say we're not set up for that. Is it because of the environment, or is it because of the equipment or staff, or what?
Probably a combination of all three, I would say. So,
Okay.
in terms of the facilities, we had different, groundwork and topography and things like that
Right.
out there that the equipment and the machines were on, and then how they mulched everything into the piles. We just don't have that set up at the new facility at this point.
Okay.
And wastewater was the staff that was actually doing all of that work at the old site. So since it's been relocated,
Okay.
we just don't have staff out there
Okay.
regularly. So we would need to work out, what that would look like out there, what kind of improvements the site would need to get the equipment functional to do that out there, and how we would store that. So,
Okay.
not something that's out of the question.
Mm-hmm.
We would just have to have some conversation about what that looks like and then how we staff that.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Have a hospital board meeting Thursday.
Okay. I didn't have any meetings, but somebody in the audience brought up about the electronic recycling. Just as a reminder, it's this Saturday. Let's see, if we look at the time again. I think it's 8 to 11, and it's at the Monette soccer fields, and it is free to the public.
All right. And I had park board meeting. We had the second hydrant party out here on the north side of the city hall, and then we had Touch a Truck Saturday before last, which was well attended. Thank you, definitely thank you to the fire for both events, and then police showed up for the Touch Truck event, and thank you to Nathan for bringing all the stuff out to both of them and taking it and picking it back up. So appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to consent agenda. This will be for 6.1 approval of minutes for the regular session on July 14th and 6.2 July 2026 appropriations.
I'll make a motion we approve consent agenda 6.1 approval of minutes and 6.2 July appropriations.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Old business 7.1, second reading of ordinance number 2026-3375, court ordinance corrections. Any questions on this, council?
Make
Alright.
a motion that we accept the second reading of ordinance 2026-3375, the court ordinance corrections.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passed.
Thank you. New business 8.1, resolution number 2026-2116, airport board appointment, Donald Francisco.
I'll make a motion that we accept resolution 2026-2116 for the airport board appointment for Mr. Frisco.
Quick question before we second.
Sorry.
Not necessarily on Dawn. How has the attendance been from that group?
How is what?
The attendance
I
been?
was hoping to ask Blades.
Yeah.
It's improved. So we have a couple of new board members there, and we have been able to have a quorum the last couple of meetings. Well, the one before we didn't. But we had it was July holiday week and that kind of thing, so some rescheduling, but for the most part, we've had some improvement.
Okay. Great. Sorry for interrupt that.
It's okay.
I'll second the motion.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passed.
Thank you. 8.2, first reading of ordinance number 2026-3376, state block grant agreement.
Council, this is to do with the airport lighting project that we had brought you information about previously. This is just the actual grant documentation that we have to execute here in order for those grant funds to start, so that we can start the reimbursements and start working through that project. So that's what both of these are.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number 2026-3376, state block grant agreement.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passed.
Thank you. 8.3, second reading of ordinance number 2026-3376, state block grant agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 2026-3376, state block grant agreement.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passed.
Thank you. 8.4, discussion street cuts. So we had moved this one to this meeting because I wanted to have, I know you had quite a bit of input here, and I wanted to have Jason and Carrie here as well. So I think we've asked this question a few times, and I think there's this, we never really we don't have a loop of communication here. So I want to figure out, I don't know if you guys have talked and come up with a little better way to manage this or not, but I think the recurring issue is we don't know where the nexus of this is, who's telling who, how do we find out, and then how do we make sure we have a process to come clean that up, basically make sure we're collecting, we're applying fines where they're necessary.
Mhm.
Was that your take? You had some
Yeah.
extra thoughts, but
Yeah, that's one concern. Making sure we have a process in place that we're following to hold these folks accountable to the destruction of the roads. The other is making sure where there's adequate fees when they try and sidestep that. I think in our ordinance now there's a $200 fee. To me, that seems worth the gamble of trying to not turn it in, right? So if I've got $1,000 street cut, maybe I don't turn it in. It's only a $200 penalty, right? It's worth the gamble, right? Sometimes. I don't know that that's necessarily the motive, but certainly from last year, you take July, August, we're at 40, 50 street cuts in 2025, and we're at 10 reported this year. So I don't think Miller's done, right? So just logically that math, the data doesn't support itself. So there's clearly as many street cuts going on, but not near as many being reported or paid. And so I think we just need to increase the fee, increase the penalty, and account for our folks' time to go and babysit that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, because clearly they're not doing it on the honor system. So we're going to have to go and make sure that they're turning this stuff in, and that's going to raise our costs. So we should recoup that. So, and we're talking like $30,000-$40,000 so far this year, difference from last year.
Mhm.
So collected.
I will say, I know within conversations with Miller Pipeline and stuff like that, that some of the street cuts and stuff like that, they haven't gotten turned in yet. But also some of the ones that they have, they've been more alley oriented, it seems like, over the past little bit than what they did compared to last year because of where they were placing everything. And two, in talking with Carrie and Jason, we have to remember that, with how we have our program set up, that we do a street cut fee, but the company is responsible for replacement of that street cut and fixing it. That doesn't fall back on the street department anymore. It falls underneath the contractor to, we charge X amount for up to 48 square feet, and anything over 48 square feet is an extra $5 per square foot. So the company puts it back on their dime. I've done some research through Republic and Mount Vernon and Cassville. Monet's kind of got theirs set up because they do a dollar amount per square foot. They've got other charges that kind of fall into there. But like Republic, they do $1,000 on a street cut repair, but they're set up to, if the company doesn't fix it, then that's for their street department to fix it. But if the company fixes it, then they get, in 3 months, they go back out and do a recheck, and then they give back the company the $1,000 that they paid in for the street cut. Mount Vernon does $500 per side, per lane. And then, if they gotta do it complete, then it's $1,000, but that money goes for their street department to just, it's not really based on dollars for the street department to put it back. It was all based on what it cost for the concrete to go back into the hole. And then Cassville is $1,000, and they're set up the same way, that they do $1,000, and that's through their permitting fee, and then that's what the street department uses to put the street back. Does that make sense? Where ours is, we do a street cut fee, and it falls back on the contractor to put the street back, or fix their patch and do their overcut and stuff like that, and dig it down 10 inches for our specs and bedding.
And be responsible for 3 years.
Yeah, and be responsible for 3 years.
I still think the part of the issue is that initial fee, regardless if it's low, because they're responsible for replacing it. How do we know? How do they know? What are, that's the question I have. We have these happening. Do we know about all of them? Do we know that that's covered for 3 years because we even knew it happened, right? That's the concern. So how do we track that today, or is that on our system?
Right, so is it okay? So here's what I'm hoping that we can do, and we're gonna have to kind of play with the programming through BSNA, because now Miller Pipeline, I'm just using them because they're one of the biggest ones right now. They send in a cut sheet that they've totaled up for a certain block that gets turned in. Crystal goes through, she double checks, she sends it down to finance, and then once a month, Spire is billed for X amount of whatever those cuts figured up. Well, we don't really have, up until we had the BSNA system, it was going through cut sheets and sitting there trying to figure out through hundreds of sheets. Well, with talking to Jesse and talking to Crystal, it looks like with this new BSNA that they can do we do a permit. They do each cut would be a permit within itself. Then within the BSNA system, then it flags, oh, we got to go do an inspection. And then we'd be able to track, okay, this one's been fixed, this one's been fixed. It's going to take a little bit of tweaking the system to make sure that once we do that in there, that it gets down to finance for billing wise. And then two, the next thing that falls within that is how do we, getting from Miller Pipeline, because they don't fix them, Moon Concrete fixes them for Miller Pipeline. So then it would be getting them to, coordinate with, okay, we've got block X through whatever on Hadley done, and they're gonna do those for them to trigger, hey, we're needing you to come and do the inspection. But then within that comes this mindset of who's gonna do the inspection that has time when for each department's, Chris done 270 plus, of building inspections and roof inspections just last month alone. And, I'm not making excuses. I'm just trying to figure out when you're doing all of those and to be there to go, okay, yeah, you can, and trying to get it all coordinated and have the manpower or man hours to get those all within a day. Does that make sense?
What percentage of Miller's cuts do you think we're inspecting currently? Zero?
So here's where I'm gonna be honest. So before Leah, Brian with Moon Concrete, we had done it enough and they were already doing, we had set up a basis there. They were already doing the 1 foot overcut and digging out and doing all the compaction, that I didn't worry about it until it come into problems into curbing or certain corners on certain streets on how the water was going to flow around. And then they would call and go, hey, Aaron or Jason, right, that, hey, you guys better come over here because this is what Miller Pipeline took out to get their gas in, but it's changed the topography of the way the street and all that lines in, and we're going to have to change a few things.
They actually fixed a couple areas for us.
Yeah, and Moon Concrete goes above and beyond, so we didn't worry about them because they were redigging out what Miller had done, recompacting and doing all the stuff, doing our 10 inches, and then, if it was major problems, then, then they would call us and go, hey, we've got to put our minds together. And two, they fixed a lot of problems, like over at the hospital, they cut out major sections that they didn't really have to do. They just done it to help because we had that working relationship with that.
So I think I'd like to clarify your question, if that's okay. When you say what percentage of their cuts are we inspecting? Are you talking about backfill at the time of the cut? Or are you talking about the overlay that they're supposed to come back and do concrete wise, or both?
Well, either or, and I only ask because, and this is with a gigantic grain of salt. I sit behind a computer. I don't do that work. But the couple I was paying attention to did not appear to have the
overcut.
the overcut. It was just a straight hole that was repaired just as such, right?
And it
so
had
it
already
made me
been
wonder,
overlaid?
what's that?
And it had already been overlaid?
It was a straight hole and it went to concrete that was
Okay.
the same shape and size.
Okay.
So it made me wonder, if someone was just being lazy, or I have no idea, or I also don't know what I'm looking at, to be completely fair to them. So that's where that question came from. You know.
Sure.
The other, I think, to your point, is like how are we ensuring, no matter what system you use to track that, whether it's BSNA, your Excel sheet, whatever, how do we know that they're turning in what they're supposed to be turning in to you, right? Just on my street, they did somewhere between 12 and 15 cuts. That's not on our list still, right? And that was months ago, months. The last cut they've turned in on our sheet was 6/11, right? So I think they've had time to report since June 11th what they've been cutting. I can't imagine all those have been alley cuts. And so while that may play some into those numbers, it does not account for all of it, right? And so we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars that we're missing out on. So, I mean, back to your point, how do we know that they're turning in what they're supposed to be turning in?
When did you receive the list last?
Today at about 10:30.
Okay. And so that's one thing that I think staff has talked about a couple of different times. That certainly would have been enough time that we should have them on that sheet. That's why I asked that question. But there's been some time where we're getting several at a time, and our staff here that's doing that processing and billing and getting them on the sheet isn't doing those immediately. So she may have a stack that she's processing and we're billing once a month type thing, which is not necessarily keeping track of them as they're taking place out in the community. And we've talked about that. So, and I told the guys, I'm going to be totally open and honest with you guys tonight, like I had been a few meetings ago. Since we changed this code to where we're not doing inspections before they can backfill and close the hole, we're not out there seeing every single one of them. And our building department has continued to be so busy that our inspector's not able to go chase all of those because he did 270 inspections last month. So how we're tracking them in terms of how they come in, we need to improve upon. That's why Aaron's talking about the BSNA opportunity, because we have simply just had that Excel spreadsheet. We've talked in the past about the next layer of our GIS mapping being the street department, so that we can track paving, street cuts, things like that. And then once something goes into that, something will trigger that and say, hey, you've been in this spot in the last 365 days or whatever. But we have not adequately had that. So it's been a manual. Somebody's got to go look at that spreadsheet, and I don't know that we've implemented that well. I'll say that we haven't. This is an opportunity that we need to figure out what process would improve that, because we haven't done that well since we changed the code. And finding the person that's going to be able to go keep stock on where have they been and what have they done this week or this month. We've got to sort through who has the time to do that, because this is a full-time job right now. And that's something we talked about. Well, do we need to be talking about what position gets some added duties, or do we need another position? But once these improvements that are major infrastructure are completed, this won't always be our scenario. We won't always have this many. So then what does that look like if we've added a position? So honestly, we're looking for some feedback from you guys of ways that you might like to see us look at something different other than what we're preparing to try to do, because it's a lot to keep up with.
So a couple questions. The comment about, we have to send this down to finance, that whole, because that's, you got 3 or 4 people involved in this. Can these permits, so if you sat down to create this, took this cut sheet and you convert that to these permits in here, so that way you're tracking it, can you convert those to billable invoices to that vendor? Just say these things kind of go, they're open invoices now because you created a permit?
That's what we think BSNA
Okay.
will do, and we're working on that.
That's what we're hoping.
Okay.
talking to Jesse, that's,
It's not established yet, but we're working on that.
So somewhere in between not knowing and hoping they tell us to something crazy like MoDOT, where you have an app, people can tell, hey, I just ran over a pothole, right? We obviously can't do that. But these projects, like this one with Miller, this 3-year gas line replacement, they had a PM. I'm assuming that we probably talked with in the beginning of this. I think that's part of this. You know, this is a big project, but even other ones, you know, we have a contact at Liberty or whatever.
Mhm.
If we just had touch points with them monthly, quarterly, or whatever, is like, hey, we need to know what street, you're at least putting it in their lap to lie to us, to say we didn't do anything. Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that way you're asking them and we're reaching out to them to go, you know, hey, get your sheets in, get whatever in.
And we have done that on several occasions. So there was one, it's probably been 2 months since I talked to him, but I did call their project lead here locally and said, hey, Crystal says she hasn't seen any sheets in probably a month from you guys. And that was during some of these conversations, and they had a change in their foreman within a specific crew. And so they got some turned in. And so I think there's been a little bit of management practice on their end and ours, and we probably haven't communicated as well as
Yeah.
we should have.
I'm thinking like come up with a template, save it in a reminder with the email addresses. That way you don't have to think about it. It just pops up and you
Yeah.
fire it off. And, you know,
Mhm.
at least I think we would get more than we have.
Sure.
Right.
And it shouldn't be a big mystery as to where they're at in town, right? I mean, we kind of can follow their progression through
Mhm.
town.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, back to Terrace. I mean, 12, many of them all the way across with curb. I don't know what kind of revenue we lost out just on my road alone, like significant, you know. So, do we need to pull a Miller representative in for a discussion? I mean, what they're not providing us to me is completely unacceptable, right?
Yeah.
We can figure out what to do with what they provide us, and we can become more efficient at that. That's I love the thought process around automating it towards finance and all that. But I mean, the root of the problem is them not presenting to us what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Making sure they're filling out the permit, letting us know where we're at.
And then so maybe it's a little carrot and stick, right? Maybe we have a meeting with those folks, but I think we need some stick on the back end to, you know, penalize these folks to recover our costs, because we're clearly going to have to go check on them to see where they're at and what they're cutting and what they're not.
So we do have a penalty built into our code now,
Right.
in 540.020 for failing to obtain a permit on a
Yeah.
utility cut, which is $250. And we can certainly go back through those, and if we've got anything that we know relatively when it took place, we can.
Well, I think that's the question. In recent memory, when have we had to do that? Or have we had to do that?
Have we had to do what? Charge the
Penalize
penalty
utility.
for not, we
Yep.
have not utilized that at this point, to my knowledge.
I think it's time.
I mean,
I don't, you know, I don't want to create an adversarial relationship, but I think
Sure.
these lines exist for a reason. So,
Mhm.
yeah. So who do we have somebody internal that's kind of leading that BSNA part, or is that something we think we need BSNA's help with, or?
we'll probably have to have BSNA to help. I mean, Crystal's going to, there's a job works segment in there, because trying to figure out and doing addresses pulls in parcel numbers, and then it ties that street cut to the homeowner,
Right.
and that causes chaos. But in talking with Jesse this afternoon, that there is this job works that's within BSNA that she could get to Crystal, and it would just be working through how all that, and then getting with BSNA to see, to help us work through how do we get the information that we go, okay, from block to block and stuff like that. I mean, it's gonna take a bit trying to figure all the pieces out, plus two, then trying to get with the companies to make sure that when Moon or whoever comes in, that they know, hey, you've got to call for inspection, so that we go out to see that they've done their overcuts or whatever, or that they turn in, hey, we're on the street today and we've fixed these 5 through here, so that way we can void out those permits that we know that they've been fixed and repaired, because they've already paid for them for that month. Jesse wants to keep it for a month instead of the way that was done a couple of years ago was they sent, right, Carrie, every permit or whatever was billed out, and they were just sending payment.
Yeah.
And it just made confusion on the building side. So she still wants to keep it to where they go, oh, you're paying for 100 in a month, if that makes sense.
I would,
So,
I would engage BSNA sooner than later and see if they can help with that, because that, if you can get to the point where you're entering these things and that's the last, it just shows up as a open invoice for them. I mean, you've already done your approval. You or somebody that was authorized entered it, so,
mhm.
I mean, that should save some time.
Yeah, so I
So-
think we've determined that we have the module. We've just got to see what needs to be tweaked, and that'll be utilizing BSNA to help us create that so that it's for that.
Quite frankly, we could have paid for custom software just on the lost revenue off of Terrace Drive already. So, you know, it's a,
Well, I think we're addressing what I've heard is fixing the internal issue of the
Mhm.
process. To me, it sounds like Miller should give us a list of what street, what zones they're
Mhm.
going to be going to. So we could do some spot checking of, you know, we're going to do, you know, the northwest part of Northtown or whatever. Then the people would know where to kind of go and
some
make
spot
sure.
audits.
Yes.
And we had that with Ozark Fiber. We
Okay.
had phases and we had documentation of their plan work and what
Okay.
area they were going to be in, and we build everything at the close of each of those. So
I think that's maybe we need to do
that's
that with
definitely something
Miller.
that we
Does-
can sit down and
Does
discuss.
Moon Concrete have this information of what they prepared for Miller? I mean, let's cross-check that list, right?
Sure.
I
And,
assume they're.
and then we,
That's
then
a
we find our
great
gap.
idea. That's a great idea.
I mean,
So you could get the list from Boone, what they were told by Miller to fill,
Mhm.
and we could see what they've gotten permits
cross-check it
for.
with our
Yeah,
permit list.
that's a great idea. I like that.
Any
I don't
other
know if they'll
thoughts,
give it to you,
Amy?
but
So we'll schedule a meeting. We'll try to obtain some information from Moon, and then we'll schedule a meeting to sit down with Miller Pipeline. But just so you know, I will include Spire in that conversation as well. So
Sure.
their leadership, that's been my contact anytime we needed to, have escalated conversations or something, I'll reach out to them and we'll have all of them at the table, and staff will sit down with them and see
Okay.
what we can learn and utilize to improve that.
All right.
They have what, about another year and a half left? Is that about right? Or
I'd
about
say
halfway?
roughly.
Okay. Okay.
Any further on that?
Comes in, they'll do like 10 cuts at a time. When they come in, so if we see them, I always try to stop, and take an eye on it, but they do fantastic work. It's just a matter of, like you said, knowing.
Turning it in.
Or
Yeah.
it kind of boils down to making sure that they are putting in what they're putting in. And short of having a guy that's dedicated to every day they drive, and if they see someone digging or cutting it, literally pull up and say, where's your permit? And then inspecting it, spending the time on the job. You know, as a physical aspect, that's hard for us to split. We've
Mhm.
done that before. And it's tough, without having that extra manpower. So maybe this new system will help. I know that the layer in the GSI will help me a bunch. Cause I'll be able to log when we do some major repairs or overlays, what year it was, and if there's anything done on that, it'll pop right up. And we did the street assessment. Physically, we went out and did the street assessment, and we didn't have any that were on a road that was 2 years or newer that they cut into yet, which that's what the big fine was, right? Carrie?
Yeah.
After 2 years, yeah.
All right. No further questions. We'll move on to 8.5, special event application, community Christmas downtown.
And I've talked way too much tonight. I do bring you the special event for our downtown Christmas. It is November 28th. The event will start at 12 and finish up at 6:30. streets to be closed are the same as they normally have: College and Madison on both east and west sides of the square, and then Pleasant and Madison on the east and west side of the square as well, and then running down north on Madison to the first alleyway on Madison would be closed off, just so that we keep, the pedestrians and this and that safe around the square. So with this event comes they'll have vendors, holiday gifts, merchandise, food trucks, bounce houses that we done last year, fire pits, event tents, stacked around City Hall again. There will be a live stage again for music. They've got on here that they're going to do, I guess from the turnout last year, to do the portable synthetic ice skating rink again over here, because that worked out very well. One of the things that's on here that nobody's here that I know of, we don't, unless Carrie has information on. Do you have information on it?
No, I was just gonna say the ADP is there. The Missouri Main Street Conference starts tomorrow, and they're at a reception thing, I believe tonight. Some of them. So Ashley is still chairman of the Community Christmas Committee, and had planned to be here, but I think they're preparing for that to kick off, and they are in the running for an award. So that's
Right.
part of why they were invited to early or evening activities. So, but Aaron is correct. I did not make contact with her today to confirm information about the next thing he's about to tell you, so I don't know.
Yeah. So they do have in here a trackless train operating on designated streets within the approved event area. Now, I don't know if that's, I'm going to assume it's a lawnmower or something pulling around. I don't know. That's what I see, but grew up in the sticks, and that's what we would have done. But so, if we would have made something work. But I do know, so I told Carrie and Jason this morning in our staff meeting that that'd be something we would have to try to figure out is, do they just stick around, just driving around, City Hall or whatever, to kind of keep that within that. And then the next thing on there also is them utilizing the use of side-by-sides to transport merchandise back and forth, and people that need it, that can't walk from the end of Madison and stuff like that. But other than that, I think everything's pretty much stays the same, except for that, the trainless tracks and stuff like that. But staff recommendation is for approval.
Thoughts on approving it with the certification of the safety plan in place?
And the additional insurance specifically, so event insurance, but specific to the ice rink. That's what we required of them last year for that. And then since it was canceled, we didn't really have any provision in addition to that. But yes, so staff would request that have the stipulation of the safety plan as approved by the fire chief, as well as the insurance for both the event and specific to the ice rink.
I'm looking at the safety of this train thing that we don't know a whole lot about.
Yeah, I think that's going to replace the carriage rides, is my assumption, because the carriage rides had, I think they're wanting to do something different to kind of introduce to that rather than the carriage rides, so that could still happen. Conversation at the end of last year, I think during wrap up, was having the vendors around the square instead of down Madison. They want to do something that still is integrated in with that within this downtown area without closing side streets because of parking. So I'm anticipating that what Aaron described is what that is, and that's why, but I haven't confirmed that yet.
Maybe it's like the landing, their little train.
Maybe.
What'd you say?
Maybe it's like the landing, that little train, that tram that pulls people back and forth on the landing. It's real small, but
Yeah.
it's dirty.
I've seen one at like the Mount Vernon thing before. That's basically what it is. It's a lawnmower that he's got it. The sides and everything. It's built like a train. It's just, they don't have to have a track. It's just a little wagon that they pull around. It's not very big.
Okay.
I'm assuming it's probably something like that.
So will their
But you still need
liability
a track.
insurance cover that?
It will.
Okay.
And we'll confirm that it does.
Okay. And their liability insurance holds the city of Aurora as a
Additional insured, not just a certificate holder.
right. Okay.
That was one of the sections.
Okay. Okay.
I'm
make a motion that we accept the special event application for the community Christmas downtown with the stipulations of liability insurance and the safety program.
Second.
Motion and a second, please vote.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Move on to staff reports, city manager report.
Council has said, or Kami has said several times in the last week that Carrie's back this time, so it'll take forever. So I'm going to be brief, more brief than usual tonight. You did say that. So I apologize. I'll try not to be lengthy here, but there are a few things that I want to point out. So we'll just go, since I'm going to try to get back at her with I think the most exciting thing that's in this management report, that is about Kami. So our city clerk I told you a few weeks ago, received her first certification, but she now has received her second certification, and is now a Missouri registered city clerk through the Missouri City Clerks and Finance Officers Association. So she has worked very hard and not only gotten the first one, but two of them running concurrently as she's done all of that. So really proud of her. She's done a fantastic job, gone above and beyond. And we will have somebody from the association here in August at one of your meetings to actually present to her. So we're just going to keep celebrating her as often as we can. So congratulations to Kami. That's what you get for saying I talk too much. I'm going to jump down to cemetery. Demolition of the old shop and office building will be complete this week. You may have seen that going on. Our staff has jumped in and handled that and done a great job. Construction of the new building will be preparing to begin by the end of August. We are looking at some utility changes and some things that we've got to do out there. So those will be taking place and then preparing for the building to start going up in August. So we're excited about that. MoDOT has approved, I got the final email yesterday, the bid process for the Crosby Park to Robinson School walking trail. So that is something I've been waiting on them to approve, letting the bid on that. They've accepted all of our right-of-way acquisition, all of our documents, and we are ready to go to bid on that. So excited to see that get to that point. I've been waiting on that email for a minute. So we are scheduling that bid opening with Algar Martin this week as soon as Kami and I can get our schedules together, and then we'll move forward with that. Under the rec center I have on here, wanted to let you know, you may have seen it advertised already. MoDOT is holding a public meeting at the rec center regarding future intersection projects on US Highway 60 in Berry and Lawrence counties. This is something you've heard me talk about a little bit from the Transportation Advisory Committee standpoint. They are talking about some, over the course of the next few years, some intersection projects across that corridor that actually starts at Republic and goes all the way to Monette and then down 37 toward Cassville. This is going to be a part of that conversation. So it is a public meeting for that, and it's scheduled for August 4th from 4:30 to 6:30 at the rec. Jumping to the airport, the bid is open for the airfield asphalt rehabilitation project. So the last time we spoke, we were working through the lighting. Now that is actually bids opened yesterday, or pre-bid meeting was today. Bids will be opening after that meeting today. So technically we're live with the bid process. And that'll run for a couple of weeks here before we close that and move forward with the second project for out there. Wanted to mention, just since the community Christmas application came through to you tonight, that I will be looking, as long as council's okay and I have some consensus, I will be looking at putting together the tree lighting ceremony again this year, where the city has picked up at the end of the event and done that every year for the last couple. So I'm excited to put that together, and staff's going to help with that. We have had a issue out at the airport with some wind damage to a set of doors. So part of it, insurance is covering, but there are some additional repairs that need to be made to the old hangar building out there. And we've tried to get a couple of bids from local contractors. We've only had one that actually would submit because he's the only one that really wanted to work on it. We've got an issue out there that's actually kind of to do with the structure, not just because of a windstorm, where the hangar doors on that old hangar were blown off. One of them blew off and the others are not secured properly. So we need to do some improvements to that building. That would be including putting in some new tracks and things like that. Again, we've only had one contractor that wanted to put in a bid, and it came back at about $20,000. Just want to make you guys aware of that, because we were looking at kind of an emergency situation out there based on that a door came off. They can't utilize the hangar, but now that bid has come back substantially more than I expected. So we're looking at either that's going to remain unusable for the foreseeable future until we budget for that improvement next year and go out to actual formal bid, or we're going to need to figure out how to get that repaired quickly.
Is that hangar in use right now?
It can't be because of the damage to the door and the track.
Well, I know, but was there something in it though?
Yes, there was previously.
Okay.
And he has a list of people waiting to use the one. So there's a plane in one part of it, but there's still 2 hangars that can't be utilized there.
And these are the
Okay.
older, kind of rougher ones.
It is.
Already.
Yep.
Yeah. And so Justin and I talked about, and then I actually had staff go out and do some structural assessment on it, street department and building department, just to kind of ensure, do we want to repair this? Should we just quit using this and wait to try to fund a new hangar? Justin has a list of people waiting to put planes in. And so it's pretty important to him that we try to improve that, get that fixed, and get those railings and those tracks set back to where it won't happen again as we do that, because he needs the space. I don't foresee, we're probably going to have to take a year, maybe 2 off, according to our airport consultant, after these 2 projects this year, because we will have used up all of our federal funding for the time being. So with that, I'm not sure how quickly we can build another set of hangars. So just kind of looking for some quick feedback from you guys about how you'd like us to proceed with that. Do you want us to, we believe the structure is usable, savable, and, you know, we probably need to fix it.
Okay.
But there is some conversation about how old it is, and it's not, you know, to the type of construction that the newer one is.
Mhm.
So do you want me to prioritize fixing that? Do you want us to budget for that? Or do you want us to just say we're not going to repair that? It's kind of some feedback I need.
I wouldn't say that we're not going to. I think you ought to repair it if it's got like some people who have planes that my thought.
Well, I mean, it's our building. If we had doors blown off anywhere else, we would fix it, right? So I don't understand. I get that it's expensive because it's special use, but I think we need to fix it.
Mhm.
Good enough. That was the question Justin wanted me to ask. He said he wants the city to tell him whether we're going to repair that building or not. So
Okay.
I wanted you all to have a part in that conversation.
Okay,
So-
good.
That's all I have. Unless you have questions for me.
Any questions?
Mm-mm.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I want a motion that we adjourn.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
I didn't say she was.